Want to know what the 10 best common cards are from Throne of Eldraine for Cube? Well, stay tuned because we're going to be discussing that right now. Hello and welcome to Life Begins at 20. My name's Mark and thank you so much for joining me, and if this is your first time here, welcome, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any of my future Cube videos. So Throne of Eldraine has come along and given us Cube builders some very interesting things to think about, especially with the adventure mechanic. Now, I'm not 100% sold on this, mainly because a lot of the cards in the set are a little bit of a trap in the sense that you kind of want both parts of that card to actually be good, or at least fairly costed, and well, a lot of them seem to be a bit overpriced on both sides, and you can fall into the trap where you're kind of thinking, okay, well, they seem okay on each side, you put them together, that makes it a good card. Not quite, but there are some fantastic adventure cards in this set. So without any further ado, let's get stuck in. So starting off with an honourable mention, we got ourselves a common land cycle in Throne of Eldraine with some decent effects, fetchable and with the potential to come into play untapped. Sounds pretty good to me, so what's the catch? These cards have some good effects, but the problem is you need to have 3 of the same basic land in play for them to be untapped to be able to take advantage of their abilities. This generally would make them come into play tapped and too slow for decks most of the time. Mystic Sanctuary is the best of them for me. Blue-based decks certainly won't be worrying too much about a tapped land every so often for the potential to get back a counterspell, piece of removal, or more card draw. Plus, if you feel like blinking the card as well, you can get yourself some extra value too. The question is, should we really be giving blue players more toys? Jokes aside, that's the only one of the common land cycle I could see going straight in, although if you've got room for basic lands that you want to kind of give them a try out into your cube, then definitely got no harm in testing. Coming in at number 10, Serrated Arrows gets its counterpart. Well, kind of. Weapon Rack unfortunately isn't at the same level, with the sorcery speed activations letting this down as it's unable to affect combat math. Although you could utilise this nicely with persist creatures, making this very useful. Removal for me is typically stronger than creature buffs, which certainly makes this less exciting to slot straight in. While this card is not at the same level as Serrated Arrows, if the sorcery speed does not put you off, certainly worth a try. Adventure cards certainly have the ability to cube builders to provide more value, although don't be too fooled as some sides could be overcosted. Fairy Godmother is no exception to this, but it's serviceable enough to consider. The adventure side being sorcery speed really is a letdown, but allowing you to avoid a chump block later on in the game to get in some damage is just about good enough. Playing it as a Suntail Hawk variant isn't awful either as an early threat or a late chump blocker. As you can probably tell, I'm not super hyped about this card, but it could be worth a test. So coming in at number 8, we get ourselves Elsa from Frozen. Wait. All the let it go jokes aside, Queen of Ice actually could provide some serious value over the course of the game. Blue 3-drops are packed in Cube, but with this being a great self-bounce target with a Frostlink's effect and the ability to support spells matter too, make this a really good option. It's also great to have in longer attritional games, and the 2-3 body is decent enough against tokens as well. I'd be looking to give this a test to see if it can make it into that crowded spot, but I'm not holding my breath. At number 7, we get ourselves an instant speed Tormenting Voice. Sign me up. While for some this may just be a straight upgrade if you're already running that card, Thrill of Possibility helps you rummage, put big threats into your graveyard, find more action, and instant speed sets up your next turn while keeping up removal. Definitely lots of potential here, and I can certainly see it getting into Pauper Cubes and possibly even higher. This has to be one of my favourite pieces of art from the entire set, and Gingerbrute can certainly do some work. This 1/1 haste body for 1 can fit into any aggressive deck, and with 1 mana it can pretty much be unblockable, bar against a select few. And if they do leave a haste creature back to block it, then you're stopping their aggro plan, which is great for a 1-drop. The 1 toughness makes this easy enough to remove with spells, but I'd happily enough let that happen instead of it on any of my more important creatures. Give this guy an enchantment or equipment and it can do some serious work for us. And if you do need to block, you can always sacrifice it and gain some life, just like any of the other food from the set, to give you one more turn to find a win condition. While a foil copy of this is top of my buy list, whether it will make the cut, I'm not sure, but definitely going to be worth a test. Although I'm pretty sure Cinderella ran faster to escape without her crystal slipper that she left behind, this haste-giving piece of equipment is what I like to do in Cube. With a cheap equip cost, to give a creature haste when it comes into play is perfectly good enough, not just for red decks but one splashing that too. The small buff in power is negligible but very welcome. With cards like Bloodlust Inciter, Goblin Motivator and Reckless Charge in my cube doing some serious work, I can see this doing very much the same thing. Whether it's cheap enough to get into play early and make an impact remains to be seen, but I'm definitely giving this one a test. Having been one of the earlier cards to be spawned, I must admit this was high on my list from the start. While the Scry 2 from Witching Well for 1 on an artifact body isn't the most exciting, it allows you to sort your next draw all while supporting an Artifacts Matter deck. Later on in the game, being able to cash this inspiration in for more gas definitely looks good to me. For such a small initial cost, albeit with a minimal impact, I can see this making its way into any blue-based mid-range or control decks just for the additional gas later on in the game. Definitely worth a try. Coming in at number 3 is a nice filtering adventure card in red in the form of Merchant of the Veil. This is an example of an adventure card that I'd be happy to use. Instant speed and 1 red mana makes this a great card to hold up alongside a lightning bolt for options, plus a way to trigger any spells matter card while filtering away any dead cards for more gas or stopping you flooding out seems like great versatility to me. The 2/3 body, which blocks fairly well, that can continue to filter, certainly isn't a bad worst case scenario for this card. With the alternate artwork looking absolutely amazing, I'm definitely going to be picking one up and I'd recommend you do too. Green get themselves another solid 4-drop in the form of Fierce Witchstalker. This 4/4 trample body that creates a food token on enter the battlefield seems pretty solid to me. While the 4-drops in green have quite a fair number of threats, I feel that this will be a better chance of finding a home in Cube in comparison to the evasionless threats like Baloth Gorger, Imperasaur or Wild Leotau for example. That food token against an aggro deck may well be a small stabiliser needed, but for me it's fairly incidental. If you feel that you need more trample threats in your cube, then this definitely is going to be one to look at. And number 1 should come as no surprise to any of you, as this is the closest we've got in Pauper to an adventure card having both sides being on rate, and that's Ardenvale Tactician. Having access to a second Blinding Beam can definitely help you get through for some extra damage or get the blocks you want, while the 2/3 body for 3 isn't bad at all to add to your flying force. For me this is an easy inclusion, but for those still on the fence about adventure cards, definitely give this one a try. So there we have my top 10 commons from the set for Pauper Cube, and to be fair, there wasn't a huge amount of amazing ones that really stuck out to me, but there may well be some more in the set that are worth testing. So definitely let me know in the comment section below which are your favourite cards in the set, which ones you're going to be trying out in your Pauper Cubes as well, because I'd definitely be interested to find out. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button and also the subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any of my future Cube content. And if you want to follow me on social media, all of my links are in the description below, where I'd like to actually get to know you and actually talk more about Cube outside of YouTube. That's the place to be. And I've also got a Discord server which is slowly gaining a little bit of community members from the channel, so definitely check that out as well if you want to talk about Cube outside of YouTube. I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.